Okay. All right. Little, I'm not typing well. Little delayed here. Can you hear me? There's questions already. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. Technology. It's Bryan Barron here with you on Thursday, April 12th. Thank you, computer, for another live chat. I'm the research director, skincare research director, specifically at Paula's Choice Skincare. And I've been working here, just celebrated, and I completely spaced on the anniversary date, which is odd because it's the same as my husband's birthday. But I just celebrated 18 years with Paula's Choice. What a journey. I never thought I would be at any one job. Now, I've done different things over the years for the company. I should say I never thought I'd be with one particular company this long. It just, in today's day and age, it's not really all that common for someone to stick with a company. My parents' generation, the generation before that, you would get a job out of high school, maybe working for a factory or working for a retail company like Sears, and you would stick with that job forever. I mean, that was your, you would take it to retirement. And most people, adults today, we career hop, we company hop. Our interests change. Sometimes we pursue a completely different direction, and I'm not saying anything at all is wrong with that, but it's just a different mindset. And for one reason or another, I think I fall into that old school camp of staying with a company for a long time. However, I truly enjoy what I do. I love Paula as a mentor, as a friend, as the founder of our company. I love our products. I find skincare research and translating that into how we can create the most effective products for you to be incredibly gratifying. Really more than I can put into words as somebody who used to have really bad skin and knowing full well what that does to your self-esteem. And, of course, in my case, it was the perfect collision course of having bad skin and feeling very low and ashamed of myself at that time when you just want everybody to like you and pay attention to you. Not necessarily like, hey, look at me, but, you want to be included. You want to have your peers acknowledge you and not think that you're someone that should be stayed away from. So there's a ton of questions coming in. I'm seeing this already. A lot of the regulars are here. Hello, thanks for being here. You guys may have noticed because you're big fans of the brand, but Peptide Booster, this is our new booster. This is the fabulous product that I have been dying to tell you guys about because I've been using it for the past probably two and a half months. And this is using the final formula. There were prototypes before that. This took some doing. It is a very, very high-tech, very innovative product, not just in the industry, but for Paula's Choice. I'm super proud of it, and I wanted to give you guys a little sneak peek, do the little dropper thing. So it's for all skin types. It's a really light, thin textured serum, very silky, but it's also really hydrating. There's 8 peptides in there. They're highly targeted. They are used in amounts that research has shown to be effective. So it's not just peptides, and then there's a little bit of what in the industry speak would be fairy dust amounts in there, just so you can say, well, hey, it contains peptides. No, when we use peptides in our products, not just this booster, but in our other products, we use them in amounts that the research has shown are necessary to elicit the desired effect on skin. So the story with Peptide Booster is basically on how it can visibly firm the skin, but it does HE double hockey sticks of a lot more than that. It can brighten, it can help refine skin texture. It is super hydrating, but absolutely not oily. Not only did we choose some specific hydrating peptides, but we also included an entire suite of amino acids. Not only because amino acids are the building blocks of peptides, which in turn are the building blocks of protein. Most of what we think of as skin is actually protein. Amino acids are very nice hydrating ingredients that your skin has a natural affinity for. They're actually present naturally in our skin. They help move moisture, i.e. water and other intercellular substances, through the various layers of skin, so they can kind of keep skin humming along is a good way to put it. There was something else I was going to tell you about Peptide Booster. You can get it now. I'm just blanking. It'll come back to me. And I'm sure you guys have questions about Peptide Booster because it just launched along with our entire booster line in its revamped packaging. The new bright look, the new boost, all of the boosters that used to be in Resist are no longer in Resist. And that was a conscious decision because our boosters are really for anybody. Most of them have some degree of anti-aging benefit in that they address concerns related to the signs of aging that we start seeing when we get more sun damage, when we just have, just that very natural act of getting older, we start having more concerns that the boosters can address. But whether you're using Resist or Skin Balancing or Moisture Boost or some combination of those or Earth Sourced or PC for Men, you can use one or more of our boosters. I know I've said this before, I have a wardrobe. I think I have all of our boosters, and I use them all at one point or another. I do have my favorites, the one, 2 or 3 that really seem to work best for me. Peptide Booster has replaced Hyaluronic Acid Booster as my favorite. I still really like the 1% Retinol Booster. I still use that one too, but I can't, because of the strength of retinol and how my skin responds to it, I can't use our 1% Retinol Booster every single night. I do best using that product 2 or 3 times a week. The Peptide Booster, however, I can use that morning and evening, and I do. Super light, layers well with all of our products. I haven't found anything that I'm just like, there's not too compatible. So let's get to your questions, because I know that they're piling up, and you're like, seriously, Brian, shut up and answer questions. Aphrodite says, hello, Brian. I have rosacea combination skin. Can I use the Peptide Booster without causing irritation? As generally, yes. Laura, let me say yes with a caveat, and the caveat being, you probably know this, but when you have rosacea, which is characterized by reddened, extra sensitive skin, can turn into bumpy, reddened skin. You may see broken blood vessels or capillaries at skin surface. Even the most gentle, benign, fragrance-free, irritant-free products could still cause a flare-up or exacerbate an existing flare-up. There's no rhyme or reason to that, and it can be incredibly frustrating. All I can say is try the Peptide Booster. If your skin does not respond favorably to it, you can certainly return it for a full refund. No questions asked. We will help you find something else that would be a workable option for you. But with rosacea, it's always about that experimentation. I'd be much more comfortable saying that because of the ingredients and the texture of the Peptide Booster, if you are breakout prone, I highly, highly doubt this will do anything to make matters worse or clog your pores. I just don't see how that's possible. But with rosacea, it can be much trickier because, as I said, even the most benign, gentle, doesn't really bother most people, ingredients can set you off. So give it a go. The formula does contain some calming ingredients. There's some phospholipids. I believe there's some lecithin. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I've reviewed the entire ingredient list. But I know a couple of the peptides in there, the myristoyl peptides, are naturally calming. So you may actually get some benefit from that as well. So give it a go. And then he or she, I'm sorry, I can't quite tell, wanted to know when the Peptide Booster is going to be available in Europe, and probably in about a month or so. Usually about a month behind the U.S. launch. It will show up in our It will show up overseas through our European Paula's Choice Europe distributors, Paula's Choice UK. Hello. Looking forward to seeing you all next month. Paula and I will be in Europe. Sarah says, hello, Brian. This isn't about skincare, but I'm really curious to know why the company decided to keep the option of returning products in Europe. I haven't come across this in any other beauty company in the UK. Why? I may need a little bit more info from you on that, Sarah. That doesn't sound familiar to me. Other than if what you're referring to is that companies in Europe don't let you return cosmetics traditionally, unless there's proof that they haven't been opened. That's not our philosophy. We stand behind our products 100%. And if you are not happy with them for whatever reason, if you don't like what they're doing for your skin, you don't like how it feels, you don't like the packaging, you find it's not very user-friendly, you found something else that you like even better. I mean, there really isn't anything, as long as you are returning the product within, I believe it's 60 days, and sometimes we'll even extend it beyond that, depending on the situation. But, I mean, generally, after you've had the product for 60 days, you should know, yeah, I'm going to keep this or I'm not going to keep this. And obviously, in the case of anything that you may order multiples of and stash them away, and then you go to use it later and you're like, oh, this separated, or the packaging looks wonky, or it never used to be like this. We deal with those situations too. And yeah, so Paula's Choice Europe and our distributors around the world should be following suit with the guarantee and the return policy that we set forth in the US. I can't speak for our distributors in terms of the nuances that they may opt to add to their return policies that might differ from the return policy in the United States. I don't have all of those details in my head, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but that is my understanding. That, yeah, sounds like what you're asking or what you're stating is that other companies, cosmetic lines in Europe, traditionally frown on used items, cosmetics being returned, and that is not the case with Paula's Choice. So one more point of difference, one more feather in our cap, if you will. Danny says, hi, Brian. I am wondering what the difference between these three moisturizers are. The Hydrolyte Lotion, the Calm Moisturizer for normal to oily skin, and the Skin Balancing Gel. They have very similar textures. The Hydrolyte Lotion is an older formula that we brought back. The Calm Moisturizer for normal to oily skin is a newer formula that's kind of a hybrid between the Hydrolyte and Skin Balancing. So Skin Balancing is more of a slightly thick, semi-opaque gel. I wouldn't even call it a cream gel because it's really more gel-like. It's not that creamy. It's just so light. That is the Skin Balancing Invisible Finish Moisturizer is one of my favorites as somebody who still, at age 44, has combination skin, oily T-zone, normal to dry elsewhere. I love the Skin Balancing Moisture Gel. I've used it for years. In fact, I was one of the, when we updated the preservative system in that product, I was dismayed because the submissions we were getting from the lab kept causing my skin to sting when I put it on, and it had never happened before. And I was just like, you guys, I know maybe this is a one-off, and I'll be the only person that is going to be stinging from this, but we have to, I need to play the selfish card here, and we have to get this Skin Balancing preservative system so that I can keep using it because I love this moisturizer, and they did. So I still use it. I have used the Calm Moisturizer for normal to oily skin in the past, and I find it to be slightly more hydrating. So if you like, it's really more texture preference. Really, talking about the three of these is really texture preference. Second to that would be the Skin Balancing Moisture Gel contains niacinamide. The other two do not, last I checked. A little bit of a brain fog there, but I don't think they do. The Calm Moisturizer does contain the plant-based soothing agents, the anti-irritants, the licorice and whatnot, that the other two moisturizers don't have quite the same profile of. the raison d'etre for Calm is really about soothing skin, helping to visibly reduce redness. So every single product in Calm contains a bit more of those types of ingredients that can hone in on that compared to Hydrolyte and compared to skin balancing. So I hope that was enough information there. If you are still thinking, well, I can't decide between the three, give our client services team a call and ask them to send you a sample or two of each and tell them that it is Brian's treat. Okay. MVeg Potato says, is wondering if you need to reapply sunscreen every few hours if you are only in the sun for a few minutes over the course of a whole day. No, you do not. Very good question. We have an article on that on our site. If you just go to the site and search for reapply sunscreen, you will find it. The directive about reapplying sunscreen every 2 hours is really about when you are in the sun for or exposed to UV light for a continued period of time. If your total UV exposure in the course of a day is less than an hour, you don't, and you're not doing something during the day that's causing you to sweat profusely or something similar, you're not going for a swim, those are situations where you would need to reapply your sunscreen, kind of start all over. But if you are walking from your house to your car, driving to work, you're not sitting by a big window that's letting in UV light, maybe you take a quick walk during your lunch break and so you're outside again and then you're back. If you are applying your sunscreen liberally and evenly in the morning and you're using SPF 30 or greater, you will be covered. I mean, the SPF rating is a measure of time when skin is exposed to UV light. It's not a stopwatch that, no matter what you're doing in a day, once those 8 hours are up, boom, your sunscreen doesn't work. What causes a sunscreen to not work as well is the ongoing exposure to UV light, because what happens is that those active ingredients gradually start to break down. The sun actually causes them to break down as they protect your skin. It's very much like how we need to keep applying products with antioxidants and keep eating healthy antioxidant-rich foods, because those antioxidants get used up, they get spent, and they need to be replenished. When we're young, our body and our skin is a rich supply of natural antioxidants, and the natural defense system of our bodies can keep up with the damage. But as we get more environmental exposure, as our bodies start to slowly break down just from the natural process of aging, those natural defense systems just aren't as efficient as they used to be. And in some cases, if you've had a lot of environmental exposure, a lot of years of tanning, if you're a smoker, if you have a poor diet, eat a lot of processed foods and very little of anything that's nutritious and fresh and healthy, you're going to deplete those natural reserves much sooner, and your body's going to have a very difficult time regenerating them if you're not doing anything to give that supply back topically and internally. Annie Mix says, hello, Brian. How will the peptide work with Retin-A Micro? I just started using it again at a lower strength and it's working well. I think it'll complement it really well. You're going to get, they don't do the same things, so you're going to enjoy more of a synergistic effect from the peptides. There is nothing about the Peptide Booster that I would say is sensitizing. Some people do need to be careful with prescription retinoids and over-the-counter retinoids in terms of seeing how their skin is going to respond. It does not mean it's a given that everyone is sensitive to retinol. A lot of people are not. Same goes for prescription retinoids. So I absolutely think you could give it a try. Peptide Booster can be used around the eyes as well. I just kind of start at the orbital bone and work all over my face and neck with it. You can mix it with our eye cream or eye gel or whatever your favorite eye area product is. Carla says, asks, do I put oil on top of my lotion or lotion on top of oil? Which goes first? Generally, the lotion would go first. It can be a little confusing because our general advice is once you get to the point in your routine where you've gotten the cleansing done, the toning done, you've applied your leave-on exfoliant, if that's something you're using twice a day, when it comes to the treatment products, the moisture products, the serum products and whatnot, the order of application is really more about lightest to heaviest texture. So depending on the formula, an oil can seem thinner than a lotion or a cream. But because if it's a non-aqueous formula like an oil, the nature of how that works, you'd want to put the water-based moisturizer or water-based serum or other product, whatever it is. If it's water-based, put the water-based product on before the oil-based product. Reason for that is that the water-based, water-soluble ingredients are going to have a harder time reaching your skin when they have to get through that layer of the oil that you put on. I also like to think of oils as kind of like a sealer type product, in that you are putting all these super hydrating products on that are water-based. Let's just say you're somebody with dry skin. Work with me here. And then the oil, a thin layer of that goes on last to help, basically lock everything in, get that moisture. I don't mean suffocate your skin. It shouldn't feel that way. But it's basically preventing all of those water-based ingredients from evaporating as soon as they would without that nice sealing layer on top. Hopefully that made sense. Amy asks, can we use Retin-A/AHA/BHA exfoliants around eye area? Yes, you can. My recommendation is to go up to the orbital bone area and kind of follow that around where you can kind of feel your brow bone. I wouldn't apply, in particular, Retin-A or any other prescription retinoid any lower than here. As the product warms to your body temperature, you'll get some migration. So it's not like it isn't going to reach down a little bit further anyway. But you always want to be very careful about getting those types of products too close to the eye itself. They will sting and cause some redness if they get into the eyes. And if that happens, just follow the usual steps. Rinse with water, pat dry. You can irrigate the eye with artificial tears if need be, but generally if you're just taking care when you're applying and not, just kind of doing this, you'll be good. Joseph says, hi Brian, is there any benefit to using retinol, such as in the booster, in addition to Differin, which I tolerate completely without any kickback? Yeah, there certainly can be. Again, as I mentioned earlier, for the to the answer of the question about prescription Retin-A Micro and the Peptide Booster, I think if your skin can tolerate both, you're going to get more of a synergistic effect. They're both going to help each other work better. So unless you start noticing signs of irritation, redness, flaking, or peeling, or your skin maybe not necessarily looking red, but it may be a bit tender and feel like it has a slight sunburn to it. Again, even though it's not red, I've had that happen when I go overboard on retinol. And absolutely when I was using, this was years ago, but when I was using Retin-A, I tried powering through that and I just couldn't. I should try it again because I know that the formulas and the delivery systems have improved quite a bit. But, I think that over-the-counter retinol, what it does for me is I'm happy with it. So I almost don't want to go down that road of the RX again. But there are certainly those who need that type of product and can benefit from it. So not poo-pooing that. Okay, Sarah with a check mark by your name. That means you are present. What are the signs of overexfoliation and that you should use less? Will Paula's Choice bring back the other 1% BHA formulas? Let me answer that question first. The only other 1% BHA formula we had at one point was a 1% BHA gel, and that just never sold as well as the 2% gel or the 2% liquid. It was kind of the black sheep of the BHA exfoliant family, by a wide margin. It was just like this poor forgotten stepchild over in the cold corner. Nobody wanted the 1% gel. I liked it, but I'm one of those people that my skin tends to do better with 1% BHA versus 2%. Very weird, because the 2% formulas are by far the more popular ones. I do think that at some point in the future, I don't have any more information to share than this, but personally, I would like to see us do a 1% BHA liquid. Maybe not necessarily the same base as the 2% BHA liquid. We could do something a bit lighter. We could do something like what we've done in Resist and PC for Men, but with 1% BHA, so we'll see. In terms of the signs of overexfoliation and that you should use less, any extra perceived sensitivity, and seeing like visible flaking or peeling, that is a sign of sensitization. It's not when you are having great results from a leave-on exfoliant. You shouldn't see those dead skin cells, flying off. When skin is exfoliating naturally, like it did when we were young, we don't see that process happening. Our skin just always looks pretty darn good. So that's what you should start seeing with an AHA or a BHA exfoliant. If you are seeing unwanted signs of sensitization, the next step, first of all, take a look at what else you're using in your routine. If you're using other products, they may be doing the same thing. Other products that may have irritating ingredients, over-fragranced products, that type of stuff, that can make matters worse. And if you switch over to gentler products, you may find that you can use the exfoliant every day without any problem whatsoever. If that is already the case, then the next step is to experiment with frequency of application. Might mean that you need to start every other night after cleansing and toning and see how your skin does, or maybe even every third day. And then as your skin acclimates, you can start applying the exfoliant more often. Del says, thank you so much for amazing Paula's Choice products. I have been battling adult acne for years, in caps, and now my skin is so much better. Oh, I love hearing that. And anti-aging that doesn't exacerbate it. Yes, yes, yes. That is such a good point there. I know what's out there for most of the other brands, and it still surprises me how many lines. Everybody has anti-aging products. I mean, that's just a given. Even though not all anti-aging collections, this still just boggles my mind, offer sunscreen. Like the number one cornerstone product for younger, healthier looking skin, and nope, not here. But I digress. Very few lines offer products that address visible signs of aging, along with concerns related to breakouts and clogged pores. And many women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, Paula included, still struggle with oiliness, still struggle with pore issues, still struggle with breakouts and clogging, and using the traditional anti-aging products that are often marketed to that nebulous term mature women. It's always so funny. When you're 49 and you have signs of aging, you're not mature, but as soon as you turn 50, you're mature. And then you're supposed to just load up your skin with thick creams and balms and salves. And not everyone who goes through their 50s has dry skin. And certainly, as the calendar turns from 49 to 50, you're not just going to wake up with a brand new skin type. In much the same way that when you become a teenager, your life doesn't magically become that much different, from last night when you were 12. As you go through the teen years, lots of changes, but you get my point. Okay. Anthony says, good evening from the UK, Brian. The C15 booster seems to make my red feel dry. Make my skin red and feel dry. Am I intolerant to high concentrations of vitamin C? Possibly. Without knowing what else you're using, oh, and thank you for the congratulations. Without knowing what else you're using, it's hard for me to give you a definitive answer. But no question, 15% vitamin C, and we're using ascorbic acid, pure vitamin C. It's a stronger amount. If you haven't done so, I'm wondering if maybe what you've started doing is applying the C15 booster neat to your entire face, as opposed to taking a drop or two and mixing it in with a serum or a moisturizer. Also try that, because that will buffer it. Also take stock of what else you're using in your routine in terms of leave-on products that may also contain vitamin C, because you will be getting a cumulative effect. If you're using a serum and a moisturizer that also contain vitamin C, even if and it probably isn't, 15%, even if it's 0.5%, 1%, or maybe even 2% vitamin C, that ups the ante in terms of how much total vitamin C you're giving your skin at one time. Cute Kitten 12 says, glad you're still with PC. Me too. Not going anywhere. Amy says, congrats, 18 years is a big marker. Thanks for all your research and knowledge. Never leave PC, please. Oh, thank you. You guys are being so nice. Okay. Danny has another question. She says, how close to the eye should you apply SPF moisturizer, orbital bone? Should it be applied under the brows too? Yes, and yes. So when I put my SPF on, I always kind of take it right to the eyebrow, and then whatever, you always have a little bit of residue left over on your finger. I kind of just do this on my underbrow area. Now I use a mineral-based sunscreen, which are the least likely to be sensitizing and least likely to sting or burn if they get into the eye, i.e., when you sweat and perspiration drips down, which is, I know it's our body doing what it should, but damn, it's annoying when that happens. The other thing to keep in mind is this is a good time to point this out, is that when it comes to being sun smart and sun protection, orange spice tea, it's delicious. When it comes to being sun smart and using sun protection, it isn't just about sunscreen. Sunscreen does a lot. It's the foundation for skin, to be sure, but particularly in regards to the eye area, sunglasses are a big one, and you want to get the larger kind, and preferably the kind of frame design where you're getting a bit of a wraparound effect. You're getting some blocking at the temples, because UV light's hitting your eyes from all directions, from the sides, from below, from above, bouncing off sidewalks, bouncing off grass. It reflects. So, and protecting your eyes, the eyes themselves, from UV light damage is so critically important, particularly as we get older. So sunglasses are a must. Hats, protective clothing. It doesn't just stop with sunscreen. So I'll get off my sunscreen soapbox, so to speak. But okay, Charlotte says, hi, Brian, sunscreen questions. Come on, you guys. I'm trying to not harp on this, but I know you have questions. If I put on physical sunscreen and then makeup on top, will the motion of applying makeup remove the sunscreen since it doesn't get absorbed like chemical ones do? I like saying synthetic and mineral because even the mineral sunscreen actives are chemicals, semantics. And it bugs me, and I know it bugs Paula, the bad rap that the word chemicals get, and it's usually in regards to anything we can't pronounce or we don't know what it is in skincare is a chemical, and any type of plant or fruit or vegetable extract is not. And from a science perspective, that's just inaccurate. Chemicals, everything is chemicals, even the natural stuff. Just like there are good and bad natural and synthetic ingredients, there are good and bad chemicals. And some chemicals, like oxygen, are a little of both. Okay, so for your question, if you give the sunscreen a moment to set and absorb on your skin, and if you are not applying foundation in a manner that is rubbing, and you really shouldn't be applying foundation that way anyway, but I've seen women do this over the years. They just kind of really go at their face with their foundation and just kind of rub it into the skin. And separate from the issue of diluting your sun protection, what that also does is basically put most of the foundation on your fingers or your sponge or whatever tool you're using and not on your face. And then you're looking at the foundation thinking, well, this barely gives me any coverage. Well, it's all right there. So you want to use a light touch. You want to use gentle downward motions. If you follow suit with that, whether you're using your fingers to apply foundation or a sponge or a brush, whatever your preferred method of application is, you should be fine. If you are concerned, though, there are certainly a large number of foundations or tinted moisturizers out there that offer sun protection. I'm a big fan of layering sunscreens. It doesn't have to, your SPF that you apply doesn't have to only come from one product, so you could certainly look for a foundation that provides additional sun protection. And then if you are someone who uses powder, you can set that all with a sunscreen with powder, and you've got a triple threat going on. Dort says, when is PC coming out with a beard oil balm with SPF? I currently use the Extra Care Non-Greasy SPF 50, but sometimes it can be difficult to work into the beard to get to the skin. Yes, it can. But having said that, it's still one of the better ones out there for that type of a thing. We don't have such a product in the works. And I haven't seen that type of product from a men's line Maybe Jack Black has something. You might want to take a look. They actually have some pretty decent sunscreens. There is another one you can look at. It's we reviewed it, or the Beautypedia team reviewed it on the Beautypedia site. It's from the brand Supergoop, and it's a fluid type sunscreen. You'll find it on Beautypedia if you just look at the reviews for Supergoop, or you could take a look at that brand on Sephora's site. And it's very fluid. You might find that, and I think it's SPF 50, but you might find that that is easier to get through the hair, and it shouldn't feel too greasy. But check it out. Let me know what you think. You can use the Paula's Choice SPF 50 product elsewhere, anywhere from the neck down, or actually it could be used on the face too. Joseph wants to know what's the best antioxidant to boost sun protection. There isn't a single best. There are a lot of good ones, but there are some that have more research than others. Off the top of my head, vitamin C, different forms. Some would say ascorbic acid or L-ascorbic acid is the best. Some would say tetrahexyl diesel ascorbate is the best. It's debatable. I think that they're all good. There's no reason that you can't use products that contain one or more types of vitamin C. Vitamins E, tocopherol, tocopherol acetate, tocotrienols, they have a good amount of research in terms of defending skin specifically from UV light damage and or boosting the effectiveness of a sunscreen. I mentioned earlier how sunscreen active ingredients gradually break down from UV light, not just from the passage of time. And again, it's not 8 hours, if you put on sunscreen and you're in your house all day, or, lock yourself in a closet, if 2 hours go by, it doesn't mean you need to reapply your sunscreen. It's not an on-the-clock type thing. The other couple of antioxidants off the top of my head that have a good amount of research in terms of UV light and extra protection would be green tea, or the one of the main antioxidant compound in green tea, which is known as epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG. That's very good, and so is pomegranate, and to a lesser extent, but still kind of cool, is resveratrol, which is an antioxidant compound found primarily in red grapes. There are some other food sources of resveratrol, peanuts being one of them. You just don't see peanuts in any form being used in skincare products, largely because of the concern over an allergic reaction. A lot of people are allergic to peanuts. If you have children in daycare, you know what it can be frustrating having to vet everything that you bring into daycare to avoid peanut and nut allergies, but I completely understand the risks. So I'm not coming down. If you have kids that have, or if you yourself have nut allergies, I know how serious they can be. And it's actually really fascinating to see how many food products out there, even items that would never or have never contained any nuts, now specifically state contains no tree nuts. It's like, we need to get that message out. Ebba says, love the new packaging. Thank you for that. Olivia says, hi, Brian. I love these weekly chats. PC products have been such a game changer for me. What would you recommend for red post-acne marks that just won't seem to go away? Thank you. Olivia, I'm trusting that you're using sunscreen every day. That is a huge part of helping skin to recover from any kind of damage that could result in a temporary flaw like those post-acne marks. My favorite Paula's Choice combination for getting those to fade faster is regular use of a BHA exfoliant. I don't have a preference as to whether you use 1 or 2% or even our 4% serum. We've got the Resist BHA 9. If you really wanted to spot treat those marks, that would be an option. I like that type of a product with the vitamin C, the C25 booster, which used to be called Resist Anti-Aging Spot Treatment. It is now in our booster line. It's in a tube. That is 25% concentrated vitamin C and kind of it looks kind of like a paste when you squeeze it out of the tube, but don't let that throw you. It's actually a very silky cream that's very easy to control and just dab right onto those areas of concern. And dab it around the eyes. You can use it around the eyes too. And then if you want a topper for that, and if you are in need of a facial moisturizer anyway, the Resist Anti-Aging Clear Skin Hydrator would be my recommendation as your go-to moisturizer. Really, really good product for someone struggling with clogged pores, post-blemish marks, and signs of aging at the same time. You didn't mention signs of aging. That may not even be a concern, but I would still recommend that for what you did mention you're concerned about. Okay. Bruja Phoenix says, is copper tripeptide proven to be anti-aging? Can peptides in general penetrate the skin to be effective? I've seen more information on copper tripeptide as it relates to wound healing. We know it plays a role there, but the thing is, a wrinkle and fine line, it's not the same thing as what happens when skin is wounded. If they were the same, then when you get a wrinkle, your skin would be able to repair it in much the same way it repairs itself when you actually cut into your skin. I have a relatively new scar on the top of my hand from a recent injury. That scar will probably continue to fade in time, but looking at the top of my hand now, it looks a heck of a lot better than it did when I first cut it. And the skin was literally broken apart, and it needed to literally mend itself. When we get a wrinkle, it's about the progressive damage to skin's underlying support structure, coupled with, if it's around the eyes, for example, the natural movement of skin over the years. That's why they're, crow's feet expression lines, the 11s we get when we furrow our brows. Those are simply the skin's response in moving to muscle movement beneath the skin. That isn't something that copper tripeptide can really affect, but we know it has a role in wound healing, and there's likely some ability, some role it can play in helping to visibly reduce signs of aging, but I would look to more targeted peptides. Not to toot our own horn, but we use some of those in the Peptide Booster. They're in there. We use it in some of our other products. These are peptides that I've seen in other products from other brands as well. So general shout out to those types of peptides. Second part of that question, can peptides in general penetrate the skin to be effective? That was the big, and this is what I was going to say earlier at the top of the chat that I blanked on. I wanted to talk about how we have written about peptides over the past 8 to 10 years. We always look to what the research says and how much is out there, what the consensus is, how the studies were done, who's behind the studies. All of that is taken into consideration when we are forming our, you could say it's an opinion, but it's an informed, educated opinion based on a lot of analysis of research, not just, oh, I like this product, it makes my skin soft, so therefore it's great. Those types of comments certainly have validity, but just so you understand how we go about it a little bit better. And in years past, really up until the last couple of years, the information on peptides and how they worked was really more based in theory than fact. And one of the issues that used to come with in the earlier days of skincare products that contain peptides, there was a penetration issue. Peptides were in the products, assuming the companies were telling the truth on their ingredient labels, and we always give them the benefit of the doubt. But we didn't know, once they were on skin, if they were able to reach the areas in skin that they were designed to target. Our skin is better at keeping things out than letting things in. That's why the entire notion that everything we put on our skin ends up in our bodies is false. There are some ingredients that get through. There are a lot of ingredients that don't, and even the ingredients that get through aren't getting into the body itself. They're not ending up in the bloodstream. There's exceptions to that. I'm not making an absolute statement there, but what is true for sure is that not everything we put on our skin gets into the body. Reason for that is that our skin has a defense network composed of different substances, including different types of friendly bacteria, antibacterial peptides, and enzymes. And it was believed that the earlier peptide formulas weren't able to reach their target areas in skin, at least not fully, because the natural defense system, particularly certain enzymes, would detect, they're like little sentinels, they would detect the peptides and break them down. And peptides are, some of the earlier peptides weren't very long. If you look at like a diagram of what a peptide, what constitutes a peptide, the different amino acids, some are short, some are medium length, some are long. These enzymes in skin were able to break down pretty much all of them. So there wasn't a lot of reason to believe that they were getting to where they needed to be and really doing much of anything, save for perhaps hydrating. The science and technology behind peptide development, it's a good thing. I know the concept of something being lab engineered or bioengineered sounds scary, and maybe we equate it to genetically modified or engineered food products, and that's scary to a lot of people. But in the case of peptides, you want bioengineered or lab engineered peptides, because those peptides can be made, and they are synthetic, but they are made in a lab setting, and they are made with the knowledge of how to overcome the obstacles that kept previous generation peptides from working as well as researchers thought they could. So now, basically, we know better. We know a lot more about how specific peptides work, about how to formulate with them, how to deliver them to the target areas of skin, and that is why, I mean, in some ways you could argue that Paula's Choice is a bit late to the game with peptides, but we've never been a company that jumps on an ingredient trend just because it's trendy. There has to be valid, impressive, well-controlled studies showing that, I have a phone call coming up, showing that the peptides can actually do something. And that is really kind of a behind-the-scenes talk about one more reason why I'm so excited, as is Paula, about our Peptide Booster. It's a remarkable product. And I do think that the latest peptides we're seeing in products from other brands are also following suit. So we're not the only game in town when it comes to peptides, but I think in terms of this little guy, we're absolutely one of the best. And I'm very proud of that fact. So, okay, back to questions. Hi, Brian. This is from Martsu. Hi, Brian. Do you have suggestions how to cleanse oily, acne-prone skin without using water? I'm interested in PC cleansers, but all of them instruct to rinse them off with water. Well, what's wrong with water? I like water. Waterless cleansing. I'm such a creature of habit using water to wash my face. I'm hoping you're not one of those people whose skin can't tolerate water. That does apply to a small percentage of people. You could try using a product like our cleansing oil. I know that might scare you because it's an oil, but it's designed to be a water-soluble oil, so you could take a damp washcloth and use that to remove the oil, your makeup, and everything with it. But if that just sounds not what you're looking for, and if you can use water on your skin, but you just don't like the idea of splashing your face, I would say try one of the makeup removing type cleansing cloths. I think MAC wipes are a good one. I think Clinique Take the Day Off cleansing cloths are good. The Take the Day Off line, specifically for makeup removal, has a nice balm cleanser as well that comes in a jar. And if you're removing that with a cloth, I wouldn't really worry about that clogging pores. I think the ingredients that create that texture are really too large to penetrate into the pores and get stuck. So I would say try that. What else you could do that just like wouldn't involve any water? I mean, if it's a splashing issue, you could, any of the micellar cleansers, like from Garnier, from L'Oreal, don't get the one from Neutrogena, it's just kind of weird. But micellar waters would be a good option as well, unless, again, if you can't use water, you may need to start looking to the oil or the balm type cleansers that are non-aqueous. and then getting a sponge or some other type of a gentle, soft cloth that maybe you just barely dampen and massage it over the skin, and try that. Annie says, it would be great to buy your products in my small town, Alta, just saying. And that maybe that will come to fruition, Annie. I'm not dropping a hint there, but we are in some retail stores. We're sold in several Nordstrom stores. I know there aren't Nordstroms in a lot of small towns. I live in a small town, small college town. We don't have a Nordstrom. The nearest Nordstrom's about 50 some miles away, but it's a nice one. It's worth the trip. But yeah, never say never in terms of us going into other retail environments, and I think Ulta would be a strong contender. Just my 2 cents there. And I have an Ulta in this small town here too. A couple of them actually, and they're pretty nice. Anna says, hi Brian, I like to buy vitamin C 15% when it's on sale, so I buy multiple bottles. Is this okay? Will the product expire 3 months after receiving the product? The period after opening, that 3-month recommendation, Anna, is about just that, once you open it. I wouldn't keep that product, the vitamin C Super Booster, I wouldn't keep it like stored for more than a year, just because of the natural stability of a product like that. You do want to use it within a year of receiving it, and then once it's open, the goal is to use it up within 3 months of opening. And remember, if you're thinking, for a product like that and how much you get, it's about 2/3 of an ounce. If you're thinking, man, I'm only using a drop or two of that on my face, maybe once a day, this is going to last me at least 6 months, try using it on other parts of your body as well. It's not just the face that shows signs of aging or sun damage or uneven skin. The arms, any place that's had a good amount of sun exposure over the years. I use the vitamin C, the C15 product on my forearms, as well as my face. And the back of my neck, because I've definitely gotten some more like sun damage there, because that's historically been one of the spots that I miss when I put sunscreen on. And I've had it's funny that I've had situations where it's just this little patch in the back of my neck gets red. I get a sunburn there, and the rest of my neck and face is, I wash things off at the end of the night, and I've been out in the sun, and there's no color change whatsoever, except for the back of my neck. And, I usually don't even notice it until I'm in the shower the next day and the hot water is hitting the back of my neck. And it's like, oh, sunscreen. Darn it. Anyway, does the Peptide Booster address wrinkles? It does. I know we're kind of playing up the visible firming aspect and the restoration of skin's resilience, which it absolutely can also do. Don't take that to mean it's going to lift sagging skin. It won't do that. Maybe if you're seeing like first signs of that, you'll get a little bit of a visible difference there, but for visible sagging, for the jowling, for that type of stuff, that is the realm of cosmetic corrective procedures and or surgery. Skincare plays a role, of course, but it can only do so much. But in terms of wrinkles, yes, there are specific peptides in the formula that can address factors within skin that will improve skin texture, roughness, and the appearance of wrinkles. So absolutely, yes. Where did I leave off? Rebecca, twice a day and how many drops per use? I kind of do like a pearl-sized amount, and I find that the Peptide Booster has such a nice slip to it that I just do a thin layer of that. Nothing wrong with applying more or less of that. An experiment. I like applying the booster to my skin as a separate step, and then I follow with other products. What other products that might be depends on the night and how much extra I want to do. At the very least, I'll do a moisturizer on top, and I usually use the Skin Balancing or the Resist Anti-Aging Clear Skin Hydrator. Do I have any others in rotation right? Oh, I use the Clinical Enriched, the new one, the Enriched Firming Moisturizer. I really like that one too. I'll put that on top at night. But if you are somebody who likes putting your booster and moisturizer together in one step and squeeze out some moisturizer, add a couple drops to the boosters, I think with the Peptide Booster 2 or 3 drops will be fine. And yes, you can use it twice a day. No reason not to. Amy says there's niacinamide in Resist Clear Skin Hydrator. Do I still need the niacinamide booster? It depends on what your concerns are, Amy. Yes, there is niacinamide in the Resist Anti-Aging Clear Skin Hydrator. I believe right around 1%, maybe slightly above that. And with the niacinamide booster, you're getting a whopping 10%. When you get up to that level of niacinamide, the ingredient is more able to address a more markedly uneven skin tone, texture changes, that mottled look, as well as the size of pores. So it kind of gives you that extra boost, hence the name Booster. So those products certainly play well together. No reason not to use them. And the niacinamide booster really brings some nice benefits for those whose concerns are combination to oily skin, large pores, and uneven skin tone. Okay, where are we doing on time? We have about 8 minutes or so left. This cute kitten 12 says, "Hi Brian, what do you think about diazoledonylurea? I was watching a product review." Oh, like a video review. Got it. With this ingredient and it's a known formaldehyde releaser, should it be avoided? Diazoledonylurea is not one of my favorite preservatives. We try to avoid using it in Paula's Choice products for the very reason you mentioned. It is a formaldehyde releaser. However, I know that sounds alarming and formaldehyde isn't good, but the amount of formaldehyde that a tiny amount of that preservative in a skincare product would release would be akin to you worrying about getting secondhand smoke exposure from walking down a city street where half an hour ago somebody passed with a lit cigarette. You know, there may be some lingering trace of that smoke in the air, but really not enough to do any significant damage. If you'd like to avoid that ingredient, and okay, the issue with diazoledonylurea is that it can be a bit sensitizing as well, separate from the formaldehyde issue. So, you know, just read the labels and avoid that preservative. But do I think that it should be avoided in every case? I don't. It wouldn't be a preservative that I would pick to use consistently, but usually it's part of a blend with other preservatives. And it certainly has a good amount of activity towards the pathogens that we don't want setting up shop in our skincare products and then transferring to our face. So there's some trade-off there, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Particularly in regards to if it's in a product that you just absolutely otherwise love. You've tried several other products and nothing works as good as this. I wouldn't eye that otherwise wonderful product suspiciously. Alex says, "Hey Brian, thoughts on why so few products include azelaic acid, such a multifunctional ingredient?" I agree. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be all that difficult to formulate with. There's variations of it that you can look at using. Hi, Maxine. Hi. Thanks for saying hello. Very good question. I don't know. But I think as the ingredient gains in notoriety that we'll start seeing more products that contain it. That's kind of a little bit of a me putting on my, what do they call it? Fortune tellers? Yes, fortune tellers, and looking at my crystal ball. I think it's just flown under the radar for too long. Sarah says, "Hi Brian, so glad I got to tune in. Can makeup powder clog pores? I need to mattify my makeup, but I read somewhere that powder is bad idea. Also, as a 21-year-old, should I invest in Peptide Booster?" So I'm a big take the second part of the question first person today for some reason. So let's talk about the Peptide Booster and do you need it when you're 21? It certainly is not going to do any harm. Let me dispel the myth that there's no truth to the fact that if you start using an anti-aging product like this little guy too soon, then it won't work when you really need it to down the road. And the best analogy that I can use for that is to think of it like healthy foods. You know, if you as a 21-year-old, you can eat a big bowl of blueberries and it's going to be nutritious and healthy for you, and you can fast forward 20 years down the road and eating blueberries is still going to be good for you. They don't stop being good for you because, well, you've gotten all the nutrition that you needed, so, you know, these are just going to pass right through you and not convey any benefit. It's not how skincare ingredients that reduce signs of aging work either. I think that at your age, what I would much rather see you using is a well-formulated exfoliant, a leave-on exfoliant, not a scrub, unless you can find a super gentle scrub. Those are okay. A gentle cleanser, water-soluble type cleanser, and a sun protection product. I wouldn't even say that at your age you'd need an eye cream, but if you wanted to use one and you find one that you like, no reason not to, other than the fact that you probably just really don't need. At 21, you're probably not too worried about fine lines and wrinkles popping up, and using an eye cream isn't going to stop that from happening if you're not good about using a broad spectrum sunscreen every day. So if you're not doing that now, that would be the best thing. Makeup powder, can it clog pores? It really depends on the individual product. There are some pressed powders would have a greater tendency to clog pores because the ingredients that keep the powders in pressed form tend to be the types of ingredients, not always, speaking generally, that can clog pores. So I would steer you towards loose powder, but I know a lot of people don't like loose powder for makeup because A, it's messy, and B, if you are looking for a medium-ish coverage, you're probably not going to get it from loose powder unless it's a loose powder mineral makeup like made famous by Bare Minerals, the Bare from the Bare Essentials brand. However, the high amount of titanium dioxide and zinc oxide that give those types of mineral makeups their opacity, their ability to cling, and yes, their ability to provide even greater coverage could potentially clog pores as well. So all of that is to say, when it comes to powder foundations and clogging pores, it takes some experimenting. It isn't a slam dunk to say a product like MAC Studio Fix, which is a powder foundation that's been around for eons, and it's a good one, that's going to be a problem for everybody. It just depends, and it depends on what else you're using in terms of your skincare. What you could try, though, if the only reason you're using powder, Sarah, is just to mattify your skin, and you're not necessarily looking at it from a coverage or evening your skin tone perspective, try a mattifying primer or mattifying type product. Like we have one in our line that I actually put on before every live chat called Shine Stopper, and it's a white cream that you just dab on to your oil prone areas, and then it naturally mattifies your skin and it helps hold back excess shine, usually for around like 6 hours or so. So it's pretty cool. And then you wouldn't have to worry about makeup clogging pores. Okay, let me take a couple more questions. I'll go over just a little bit. And I know some of you are asking multiple questions, so if I've already answered a question you today, I'm going to skip you. Don't be mad. I'll be back. Lindsay XOX says, what products do you suggest for strawberry skin? I'm not sure what you mean by strawberry skin. If you're still here, let me fill in a little bit of detail, and I'll see what I can do. That was Limesy XOX. Sorry. Let me move on to one. Marcia says, what is the texture and color of the peptide booster? I was wondering if it is blue due to the tripeptide 1 and is lightweight enough to be combined with other skincare. It is. It kind of has a milky texture. I don't know how well you can see that. It's got maybe a little bit of a bluish gray color to it. It does not look that way on the skin. It's invisible on the skin. What else did you ask about it? Oh, and it's absolutely, the second part of your question, which I'm answering secondly, it's absolutely lightweight enough to be used with the other skincare. I am somebody who has to be careful about layering too much during the day. I'll layer for hours at night because however much I need to put on at night, I generally am not picky about. But during the day, I like keeping things on the lighter side because I find that the more products I put on, the shinier my skin looks, especially later in the day, and I try to avoid looking super shiny if I can help it, and it's really more of a T-zone issue. Combination skin unite. So during the day, though, I found that I can do my toner, my beloved Resist Advanced Replenishing Toner that they will pry out of my dead cold hands. I don't use an exfoliant typically during the day, so I will move on and I'll put on the Peptide Booster. Sometimes I'll put the Calm Redness Relief Serum on top of that, and then my daytime moisturizer with sunscreen. So that sounds like a lot of products, but I found that adding the peptide booster to the mix really doesn't make things. It doesn't necessarily make things better in terms of the shine, but it doesn't make them worse either. So I've stuck with it because I otherwise love what it's doing to my skin. Okay, did we hear back from? No. Okay. Let's see. No question. Oh, from Megan. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Brian. So happy to be here. My son went to the derm yesterday and his back formed cysts from acne. Our options are steroid shots in the spots or surgical removal. Have you heard of this? Surgical? I have not heard of surgical removal of cysts. That sounds pretty invasive. The steroid shots I have heard of. Usually it's in the context of somebody that gets one of those Mothra type or grounder big blemishes on their face that pops up like 24 hours before a big event. Wedding, prom, big presentation to the executive board, that type of stuff. And they go see their dermatologist and they get a shot of cortisone right into the blemish. And cortisones are a type of drug known as steroids that have potent anti-inflammatory properties, and they can take down the swelling of that type of breakout very fast, usually within hours, whereas chipping away at that with skincare can take days to get that same type of progress. If there are multiple breakouts on the back, I think that the steroids, first of all, I don't want to supersede the dermatologist's advice. And if you're not comfortable with it, of course, as the patient and being an advocate for your son, feel free to question the dermatologist's advice, ask what other options are available. Just both of those are a bit extreme, particularly the surgery, but I'm not as familiar with it, though, and I'm not, seeing what your son is dealing with. But man, back acne can be tricky. Between the two, I think the cortisone injections would be the safer option, but then you need to talk about what happens next. This type of breakout on the back, especially if your son, did you say how old he was? I'm guessing he's a teenager. This won't, in all likelihood, won't be a one and done thing for him. So he's going to need a plan of attack via skincare. What is he going to use to cleanse? No bar soaps, no bar cleansers. Acne can't be scrubbed away. He doesn't need to use loofah mitts or sponges back there. Bad, bad, bad. Ignore the body scrubs for acne. Again, acne can't be scrubbed away. Those body scrubs help cleanse, and the medicated ones with salicylic acid I'm not a big fan of because you're generally not keeping that active ingredient on skin long enough for it to have an effect, particularly for those deeper rooted blemishes. Leave-on products that contain salicylic acid can make a huge difference. We offer solutions like that in our clear line, or you can find them from other brands. Of course, there can be pitfalls with some of the other brand acne products because so many acne products, and I don't know why this is, but they're poorly formulated. I would also talk to the dermatologist about what else he would recommend via prescription topicals and possibly even oral medication to get your son's acne under control. Definitely seek a second opinion if the dermatologist is telling you, oh, one round of shots will be fine and I don't think I'll be seeing him back here again. You can go on your way. That just isn't how it works with most cases of that type of acne. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. So, all right, that is it for the hour. I went over a little bit, but for those of you who hung in, thank you. Thanks for listening to me talk about the Peptide Booster. I love talking about our new products. They're always exciting. We were profiled, if you can believe this, we were profiled on allure.com already. I love that they're paying such close attention to what we're doing. That's really exciting. But what is most exciting is hearing what you guys think of our products, the questions you have, and reading about your experiences, both good and bad, with our products. And I'm happy to say that I read far more good experiences. So that tells us we're doing something right, which is always a nice feeling at the end of the day. So I will be back. Is it next week? Let me double check my calendar. I think so. I think I have, yeah. I'll be back next week, and we are going to do the chat next week at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and 11 a.m. Pacific Time. I will also check back here to see about follow-up questions. So if I didn't get to your question and you want to post it in the comment section below, please do so, and I'll do my best to answer it. So thanks again. Bye for now. See you next week.